Hi everyone, welcome to Cow Corner Cricket Cast. I'm your host Pratham. I'm joined by my mate Rohan, and today we're going to be discussing the third day of the second test between India and England at Lord's. And boy oh boy, we had some day, I can tell you. Day not particularly good for Indian fans. If we had said earlier that, as we did in our second day's coverage, that it was advantage England at the end of the second day by a little bit in terms of the day's play. Today was squarely England's day to behold. And really, there's only one man who was responsible for that, Joe Root. Carried his bat, even though he's not an opener, but carried his bat as a number 4. Scored a sublime 180 not out, and really ensured that his team would wrestle home the advantage. You know, going into this particular match on day 2, things didn't look that easy for England, right? 250 odd runs behind on a first lead innings total, on a pitch that was increasingly wearing and getting a bit slower, with a little bit of inconsistent bounce and some, turn available as early as the second day. Things were looking challenging. But critically, there wasn't as much cloud cover available in the overhead conditions. The pitch had gotten significantly flatter, and the slowishness of it helped a lot. And for once, the man who's been much derided in this England team, Johnny Bairstow, who's been making a comeback, put on a century partnership with Joe Root, went at a really good clip. I think it was, at one point, Rowan, it was like 3.5 runs per over, right?
Something like that.
Highest of the match by comfortably, right? And really, that they wrestled the advantage in after that particular first session, right? Bairstow, despite edging a lot to nicking a lot to Bumrah, and likewise sometimes with Root, the edges didn't really carry to the slips. They could exploit some of the gaps that were created, which we'll also come on to later. Virat's captaincy not at the best, and England really was driving home the advantage after that first session. It seemed, India were out of ideas, but they did manage to conjure up one. Virat Kohli got Siraj to start bowling bumpers, and then at the very end, to Bairstow, have produced some sort of a switcheroo in a sense, right? And in particular, he got the ball that he was bouncing Bairstow a lot from over the wicket and went around the wicket, essentially cramped him for room, got him to pop it up the slip. And with Buttler coming in and looking a bit jittery, India actually looked like they had some hope, right? It looked like, we could come back in this match. But Buttler survived, put on another...
Survived for long enough to give Root a chance to score.
Yeah, and get a century.
And then Moeen just, played brilliantly.
Yeah, played a very nice counter-attacking role against bowlers that were getting a little bit tired, flogging them a little bit. And those two put on 50 partnerships that were crucial, really, because it basically shut India out of the match with the second new ball, effectively, right? The second new ball was India's best chance once they took it in that late second session, early third session, but it didn't materialize with the wickets. Ishant bowled then brilliantly, got out, but he got the likes.
He got 2 wickets and 2 balls, and then
Curran
almost got Root too.
England had a slim chance of actually not making the lead, right? And what allowed them to do that was the tail, which didn't score too many runs, but they stuck out long enough, right? For I think it was like close to 100 balls or something, and basically allowed Root to marshal that innings. And by the time they ended, essentially, right, England with that 391 all out, getting that 20-30 run lead, even though it's basically a par score from India's, you would have to say they're slightly above now in this match.
Come on to the Indian bowling in a bit, but let's just take a second just to appreciate Joe Root. At some point, the English, the ECB, need to rename their team to Joe Root and the English Welsh national cricket team, because this man has single-handedly won pretty much every match England has won.
Yeah,
this
pretty
year.
much.
Single-handedly. He scored what, like 200 in Sri Lanka and basically killed that Sri Lankan bowling attack. It was pretty good, let's not forget.
Yeah, then Bologna was spinning it on glass, and he still managed to deal with him brilliantly. Yeah, he agree. But also India, right? One match they win in Chennai, first test. What does he do? Score a double century, right? Trent Bridge, last match, when they needed to get out of jail after being honestly outplayed in all departments, who did they have to turn to? Joe Root. He is literally the one man who, if you had to rely on in a crisis situation to actually draw or win the match for you, right? I know Burns has chipped in with some handy runs in the New Zealand and Aussie series.
Roy Burns, I'm going to say this. Roy Burns is their only other batsman at the moment who's of any quality.
Yeah, but even he, right? Even he cannot change the momentum of a match in the way that Root is. Root is genuinely a world-class batsman, and honestly, it's halfway through the year. I know you were mentioning it earlier, right? But he has a chance of breaking Muhammad Yusuf's record in a calendar year, 1,700 runs or something insane like that he made in 2006. He has a chance of breaking it this year just because of how brilliant he has been with the bat. Point being, right? He has played tremendously, right? But if we talk about specifically the innings today, right? There were just a couple of things that he did so brilliant, right? First thing, right? His ability to score quickly without taking any risks, which is a hallmark of a great batsman, for the record, right, was in sight, right? You look at the innings, 180 odd, 180, not out, 18 boundaries, right? Only 18 boundaries. So that's 72 runs, less than half of the 40% of the boundary count. I mean, there's a run count. And critically, he didn't score many of those boundaries until they were 9 down.
I think that's a really good point. I saw there was a graphics package that they put together trying to explain how this was happening. In between the New Zealand series and now, he plays the ball on average about 6 inches later, just within those two series. It's incredible.
Because he's playing the ball so late, and because he has several other things, soft hands, an ability to open the face just at that last moment, he is able to score runs around the third man region and dabble things at the last minute and flick them to the onside, and also score square of the wicket and intercept the different gaps of that particular position better than anyone, right? So a lot of the deliveries that even somebody like a Bairstow today, right, who was edging and nicking, right, he was trying to go outside off to confront Bumrah, who was bowling away from him around that 5th and 6th stump line, because he's batting in that way, right? Those deliveries, Joe Root wasn't nicking. And if he was nicking them, he was nicking them with an open face intentionally. And he was able to do that and score runs because he just is able to fundamentally alter that technique, as we're talking about here. That technique that he's constructed very recently has essentially enabled him to deal with deliveries that most batsmen would have trouble in English conditions, i.e. the ones which are around the corridor or 5th stump where you nick it.
India's bowling and fielding.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say this, but they had one really good bowler and then one good bowler. And that was basically it.
The best of the picks, the one that I think we can unanimously say was the one really good bowler today was Ishant, right? Ishant genuinely made adjustments. He was looked a bit undercooked yesterday. That match practice seems to have helped him out, but also his ability to actually realize, okay, I'm not quite able to seam this off the deck away to the right-handed batsman, so I'm just going to use the leg cutter much more extensively and get the perfect sort of seam position for it, right? And using it and executing it perfectly was brilliant here today because that leg cutter bounces more, right? It's one of the few deliveries which can get you that extra bounce. And Ishant, already being a tall bowler on a pitch which is as slow and has at this point, honestly, the ball dying to with carry to the keeper, right? That's one of the few deliveries that can move away, that can still get the nick and carry, right? And so it forces batsmen like Butler, as we saw today, to be disconcerting about that, play away from the body, and then he can sneak in the fuller, straighter, faster one like he did. He bowled a almost 90-mile delivery to Butler, nicked him out with a peach that jagged back in, right? And that's why that works so well. And his obviously he cleaned this up left-handers like no one's business. So
Yeah, poor Sam Curran.
Yeah.
Mohammad Shami he does what he does in the first inning of the match, right? There's not much reverse. It's sort of a skiddy pitch. It's slow. It doesn't really bounce and carry that much. So he's just going to bowl a tight line and length. If his captain needs him to bounce a guy up and be the enforcer, he becomes the enforcer. He hits guys and,
It is disconcerting to see that he doesn't get didn't get reverse swing on this pitch nearly enough with that as late of a ball as he did. I do understand that the outfield is lush, but you really do expect Shami. I've seen him get reverse on grounds which have more lush outfields, right? And again, that is a bit of a concern.
I think that's a fair statement to say. I just think that I don't think this Lord's wicket is going to reverse much to begin with. I just don't. I don't. Jimmy Anderson, who I think is ranks amongst some of the best bowlers of all time when it comes to finding reverse swing.
And he hasn't been able to get any, right? So
if he can't find it, it's probably not all that much there. Maybe day 5 they might find some. Maybe late day 4. But again, it might rain tomorrow morning as well. So
fair enough.
I don't see it. I don't see much reverse on this wicket.
Fair enough. Bumrah.
So I think England has one very simple goal. They need to constrain India to under 240 to have a chance of winning this match. They can take all day tomorrow, but they need to stop them before they get to more than 240, because it's rough. They're going to get roughly 80 to 90 overs on day 5,
and chasing on a wearing pitch, right? On
a wearing pitch as well. And the runs on this pitch have been coming at around 3 and over, so you're going to need to keep them to roughly that and hope that you can get a few lucky boundaries and trying to chase on anything more than that. What's your thoughts on England?
For me, England have to. I think England can be fine with restricting India to even 275 here, just because I think India is suffering from that lack of a recognized spinner that Ashwin's void has caused here. So I think even if they can restrict England to India, that is to 275 and have a target of 250 to chase on the final day, it'll be tough, but I think they can see it through if they get the full 90 overs in play. What about India though? What do you think India needs to do?
I think it's pretty straightforward what India needs to do. Bat all day. They need to bat all day. Ideally go...
The most disappointing bowler I was going to say was definitely Jadeja today. I thought Jadeja really... we've been saying this since the New Zealand series, but it's true. He's looked flat. He looks like he hasn't quite become become fit to bowl significant amount of overs and tests. He wasn't able to extract any of the, turn of the wicket. Not always his fault, mind you. There weren't enough foot marks, I'd argue, to do that. But even so, right, just bowled the wrong line here as well, right? He kept on trying to bowl around the, fifth stumpish line, moving it away. And to somebody like Root, who's so prolific square wicket on the offside, it allowed him to easily get those singles with the gaps in the field. Let's talk about our judgment and our predictions for the test tomorrow, right? What do you think England needs to do? What do you think India needs to do? And most importantly, what do you think is going to actually happen?
So I think England has one very simple goal. They need to constrain India to under 240 to have a chance of winning this match. They can take all day tomorrow, but they need to stop them before they get to more than 240, because it's rough. They're going to get roughly 80 to 90 overs on day 5. And chasing on a wearing pitch, right? On a wearing pitch as well. And the runs on this pitch have been coming at around 3 and over, so you're going to need to keep them to roughly that and hope that you can get a few lucky boundaries and trying to chase on anything more than that. What's your thoughts on England?
For me, England have to. I think England can be fine with restricting India to even 275 here, just because I think India is suffering from that lack of a recognized spinner that Ashwin's void has caused here. So I think even if they can restrict England to India, I mean that is to 275 and have a target of 250 to chase on the final day, it'll be tough. But I think they can see it through if they get the full 90 overs in play. What about India though? What do you think India needs to do?
I think it's pretty straightforward what India needs to do. Bat all day. They need to bat all day. Ideally, go back to the sheds 300 for 5 or something in that ballpark. Just so that they have, 2 recognized batsmen to come. Yeah. If they want to get a few extra runs and see how the pitch is on day 5 so they can figure out how they want to bowl, you can send out Pujara and Jadeja to try and score some runs in the beginning of the day, or they can come in at late in the day and sort of try to build that lead out a little bit more. Your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, I largely concur with you. I think even if India gets bowled out tomorrow for about 300, though, I would say they'll take it, right? Because I think this England team has shown, especially with that previous England-New Zealand chase, coincidentally also at Lord's, right? That if they're given a target to go for that's even relatively stiff, I don't think they have enough faith in that top order batting to actually go for the chase, so to speak. So I think even 300 all out is good for India. But what do you think is actually going to happen, right? Because that's probably the most important consideration.
I think that India will probably score something like 290, and they'll be down. They'll have one of Punt or Pujara, Punt or Jadeja at the crease. It could be Pujara, and he could have one of those massive sojourn innings where he goes and bats the entire day, scores 120 runs or something like that. But it's unlikely. And then you're going to have the question of, do I want to bat for an hour tomorrow morning? Yeah. And if I'm Virat Kohli, I'm not really comfortable with trying to go for something like that because, lots of chaotic things could happen, and it's my tail. It's the bowlers, and
our 9, 10, and Jack.
You don't want an accident. You don't want Jimmy Anderson to wake up
and take another fifer,
bruised. No, not taking another fifer, but simply just saying, you know what? Just you hit me. It hurt. I'm gonna hit you. And have something like that happen.
Fair enough. But fair enough. For me, I think what's going to actually happen is I think India is going to get bowled out for 280 odd, and that in particular is going to mean that England are going to be tantalizingly close with the chase. But I think Father Rain is going to intervene again on the 5th day, and we're not going to get a result. And with that in store, guys, we'll take your leave. It's been fun covering this particular day of the Test match. The 4th day is really well poised and set, given that both of these teams essentially have made scores roughly equivalent to each other in their first innings. So it's really a 3rd and 4th inning shootout, a one innings game of sorts. So we will be covering it. Take care, guys.
See ya.